Running up that road, running up that hill. Don't act like you haven't been singing it on loop as well. What is up, Stranger Things fans? My name is Trevor, and welcome to my channel. Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 1 just dropped its first 7 episodes this past weekend. I'm a little behind in the game, but I just finished watching them literally like an hour ago before filming this. We're about to dive into this season in full spoiler fashion. Before we do, jump your way down below in the comment section. What did you guys think of this season? What are your predictions for the final 2 episodes coming out in just about 30 days? Let me know all that down below in the comments below. Hit the like button for me and the subscribe button for me. Lots more Stranger Things videos coming later this week, from episodes ranked to characters ranked. This is going to be more of a raw, fresh, off the top one take, starting on our words, talking about how great this season is. Not plot point by plot point, but definitely the big moments throughout the season that we have to address. And let's start with this. That's what I love about Stranger Things in general. It's why it's my favorite show of all time, is because the first episode always brings you right back into the world and catches you right up to speed with the characters. No having to put 2 and 2 together. It brings you right back to Hawkins with our favorite characters, and that's what I love about it. And a lot of shows always do like a time jump, just like things that explain, they have to do like exposition before. And Stranger Things, they just jump right into it. Some of our gang is in California, some of our gang is still back in Hawkins, and there's about to be spring break, and everyone's going through the trials and tribulations of high school. They hit it on the head really well. The first episode, well, I think it's one of my least favorite of the entire season. I still think it's a damn good episode. Really good to see our characters back in. I love Dustin. I love Steve. Like, literally, that's the duo I want. I want an action adventure comedy movie with these two, like playing brothers, searching for gold. That's what I want to see. But throughout this season, they have so many different relationships that kind of take place between Steve and Nancy, kind of come back. Steve and Robin. Steve and Dustin. Steve has so many different like relationships with other characters, which is why I have a prediction later in this video. Stick around for it. But we can introduce a pretty awesome new character in Eddie. Honestly, jumping up to like a top 7 favorite character for me in Stranger Things. And Eddie is the president of the Hellfire Club, which is like this whole cult thing going around later on in the season. But Eddie is an awesome character. If you don't like Eddie, smack yourself. What are we talking about? Eddie is an absolutely awesome character, but it's about to be spring break, and Mike's about to come to California to see Elle and Will, and it's about to be awesome and fun, and Nancy and Jonathan have relationship troubles, and it hits on all those things really well. Kids are getting bullied, and they're trying to just find themselves in the juggernaut, daunting task that is high school, and that's what I love about the show so much. We gotta talk about a couple big plot points, a couple big episodes, and let's just hop right to one of the best episodes of the entire season, which is episode 4, Dear Billy. Vecna is a big new villain throughout the season, and Vecna is menacing and he's scary, and there's lots of speculation as to who this guy is. Is it Billy? Is it someone we've met before? And the reveal was awesome, which we'll get to here in a second. But Dear Billy is arguably the best episode of the season, one of the best episodes of the entire show, and Dear Billy just follows Max, and Sadie Sink is one of the best young actresses working today, and her performance in this episode is Emmy worthy, but just the way they craft this story is done so well. This episode is directed by Sean Levy, my personal favorite Stranger Things director, and Sean Levy directs the absolute hell out of this episode. But there's basically a serial killer going around, and Vecna is murderously, just brutally killing kids and these teenagers, and it's terrifying to see, and it's one of the scariest, darkest shows I've ever seen, especially this season alone. It goes really hard on the horror. But Vecna is now after Max, and this whole episode is Max basically kind of gearing up to say goodbye to everyone in her life, writing them letters, and has all this regret in her life, and it's sad. It tugs on those heartstrings, man. I can't tell you, I got choked up many times throughout this episode. And the running up that hill scene, and when they play the music to kind of get into Max while she's there with Vecna, is one of the best scenes I've seen in TV ever. I mean, this scene is done so beautifully well. I absolutely loved everything they did with it and how the music was playing. They used some random song that just works and fits so well. I never in the world would have said, you know what, Running Up That Hill would be a very good song. I think that's a good one. We should play right there. It just works, and that's what Stranger Things does well. It takes a song that like wouldn't work anywhere else, but just honestly fits. They did it with Heroes. Now they did it with this one. I assume we're going to get like a recall of this song later in the season, maybe in season 5. But that episode was beautiful. It was brilliant, and I absolutely loved it. And the whole storyline, there's kind of 4 storylines going around this whole season. And the one I wasn't the biggest fan of, minus like Mike, Will, and Jonathan, and Argyle, the awesome, funny, new stoner character. Like their storyline was fine. But 11's storyline, every time it came on, I just wanted to fast forward. I mean, that seems kind of like messed up to say, especially when episode 7 comes in, and how brutal and how like kind of basically a full circle this season does with episode 7. But every time that kind of her storyline came on, I was like, gosh, could we just get going through this? It was slower, and I just didn't appreciate it. But now that episode 7, I finished watching now, I was like, man, I appreciate it so much more. I don't know if you guys feel the same. Like, what was your favorite storyline? My favorite storyline was with Dustin, Steve, Nancy, Robin, Eddie, and Max and Lucas and Eric. I mean, that's the dream team right there. And Dustin and Steve. I mean, come on, we need more of them in this life. But that was the best storyline. And my least favorite was definitely the 11th storyline. I don't know why, I just could not get into it. But this whole storyline was just daunting and scary. And Elle lost her power, so she met up with Owen. Owen came and found her. She gets brought back to Dr. Brenner, who is just, he's a dick. Way to call it how it is. He's just an asshole, and I just can't stand the dude. But she comes back, and she's there with him, trying to find her powers again, and goes through like this memory thing. It has so many different flashbacks with this. She meets this guy who's a very, very good actor. I had no idea where he's from, but holy moly, we end up finding him that he is one. And that was absolutely insane, finding out that he was one the whole time. But we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here a little bit. He's helping Elle a little bit. Elle's going through the trials and tribulations of trying to find her powers again with Dr. Brenner. And my goodness, does Elle find her power. She kind of gets glimpses of them throughout the season, and she goes, okay, she's starting to get them. She's starting to get them back. And Dr. Brenner, though he is a dick, and I don't like him, he's like one of my least favorite characters ever, is that he knows what he's doing to get her powers back. So you gotta, like, appreciate, man. But when you get to episode 7, it loops around that dude helping out Elle the whole time was one, and, like, then she goes there, and they have, like, basically, like, a 11 off, they're freaking fighting each other. That was insane. That was epic, and Elle came out on top, and then all of a sudden it flashed back to Elle like in this like water testing thing to get her memories back, and I was like, God, I totally forgot that happened. Like my mind was just exploding, and that's storytelling at its finest when it clearly tells you that, hey, this is what's happening, and then you forget it, and they bring it back around, and it's like a surprise. It's like that shit's just absolutely crazy, and that is done so well. But my favorite episode of the season is actually episode 7. This episode is an hour and 40 minutes long, and it could have been 4 hours long. I would have been invested the entire freaking time. The cops are after them. The dumb Hawkins cops are after them. Hopper, who we haven't even touched on this season, who's been in Russia the entire time, is about to fight the Demogorgon with his new friend in the Russian prison. And Joyce and Murray, they all team up again at the end. It was awesome, but this whole episode was just epic and jam-packed with craziness and awesomeness and people. This is how you do a show. Like, this is how you do like a series finale or season finale, part 1, and like just sets up the next season oh so greatly. And I was thinking something was gonna happen with Nancy and Steve, and then Nancy kind of goes down the upside down, and Vecna is now after Nancy, and you're like, we're just almost there. And this is kind of all over the place, as I said I was going to be. It's always hard to talk about spoiler reviews, but this whole episode was like the culmination of the season. I was like, how are they going to tie all this in? That's why I was an hour and 40 minutes. It gave it its time to take its time. And Dustin's my favorite character probably in any TV show ever. One of my favorite TV characters of all time. And Dustin is always figuring this thing out. And the gang, Dustin, Lucas, Max, you have Robin, you have Eddie, you have Nancy, you have Steve. That's the dream team. They're going to find the Watergate, as they call it. And they find their way in the Upside Down. And they do just this great job of telling a story in the Upside Down and on Earth. And they're working together through that, through lights and through technology. And again, it's done so brilliantly well. And this whole episode is just, it's so jam-packed because Elle finds her powers. And then you have Nancy going in the Upside Down. Then you have them bringing them from the Upside Down back into Earth, and the cops after them. Only group we didn't see was really Mike and Will and Jonathan, who are kind of fiddle-farting out there in California smoking some ganja. But the episode was the culmination of this entire season so far. And it set it up beautifully for the next 2 episodes, which I cannot wait for. This was all over the place, and that's okay. I absolutely love the season. Is it the best season? We got to see how the last 2 episodes kind of play out for us to do episode or season ranking. I love it. I can't say anything bad about it. Episode 4 was fantastic. Episode 7 was even better. I can't even believe it. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this season down below in the comment section. What are your predictions for season 4 part 2? And we're going to hop into my couple predictions. So I mentioned before that Steve has many character relationships throughout this season with Robin, with Nancy, with Dustin, even with Eddie a little bit. I think Steve does not make it out of season 4. That's like my big prediction that I have, is that like they have to kill off, I feel, a main character, and they're not going to kill off Hopper again. But I feel like Steve has become so likable, and I was not the biggest fan of Steve in the early seasons, but I feel like he just becomes so likable that Steve won't make it out, and that's what I'm scared of, because I absolutely love Steve. He's like one of my favorite characters in the show, and I think it for that because it's going to hit that emotional level so greatly with Dustin, with Nancy, with Eddie, and with Robin. It's going to hit with all of them so well. Maybe not as much Eddie, but to see Dustin and Steve, like, they kind of, like, go their separate ways because Steve dies, maybe sacrifice himself for Dustin. Just going to say, I think it's almost inevitable. I would put money on it that Steve does not make it out. I think he sacrificed himself for Dustin or for Nancy. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be sad. I'm not ready for it. I'm not emotionally ready for it, but I cannot wait for the final 2 episodes coming out in about 30 days. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this season down below. So far, what's your favorite episode? What's your not favorite episode? Come back tomorrow for an episode ranking and a Stranger Things character ranking as well later this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.